So what do I mean behind the genius of the Creaky blinder? Well, I will get into that in great detail, but first we all need to be on the same page. Let me help you with that. The first question we need to answer is, who is the Creaky blinder? Creaky blinder is a channel made by a Welshman. His channel is known by most people as a rather funny debunking channel. This isn't a traditional scientific debunking channel like you may see with Simon Dan and Conspiracy Cats. This channel is more of a point and laugh kind of channel. Creaky blinder channel was created on the 9th of August 2018 and his videos mostly consist of making fun of flat earth videos and other similar ridiculously outlandish videos or conspiracy videos. As of recording this video right now, Creaky blinder currently stands at 17.3 thousand subscribers. That's a quick rundown of who the Creaky blinder is. Now the next question to answer is, why is he a genius? I'm glad you asked. There are many similar channels making videos about anti-vaxxers and flat earthers, and the main reason is that flatards, as they're commonly referred to, are simply just low-hanging fruit. These people are constantly uploading brand new videos of new, ever-evolving, ridiculous conspiracies. Simply put, they're easy content. Now, this is where Creaky blinder's genius starts to come in. Whereas most other debunking flat earther channels are consistently trying to debate flat earthers and trying to convince them with evidence that actually they're wrong. Creaky explained in his podcast today that I listened to, by the way, link in description, of course, as anyone that I mentioned in this video, all the links are in the description, go check them out. So as Creaky explained in his podcast, he's fully aware that these flat earthers don't actually believe in what they're saying. He believes, as well as I do, as well as the rest of us, we're onto them. We all know that these flat earthers don't believe that the earth is flat. They know that it's a globe, but the problem is, these flat earther YouTubers, they have fans, they have subscribers and supporters, so when they're making these ridiculously outlandish claims, they're only drawing in people that are completely gullible, the most gullible people on this planet. Creaky alludes to this point. If these flat earth YouTubers are drawing in the most gullible people on the planet, and these people are 100% gullible enough to believe that this crazy man on the internet is right with all these conspiracy theories, then these YouTubers are going to play up to it and make an absolute fortune off the back of their crazy gullible supporters. And these supporters will stop at no end, they'll have no mercy for their families, for anyone. They will throw as much money as they can at these flat earther YouTubers in order to hopefully, if they send enough money, eventually one of these flat earth YouTubers are going to get enough money to actually prove one piece of evidence that the earth is flat. But Creaky knows that the YouTubers don't believe this, so why argue with them? So what Creaky does instead is, rather than trying to educate these people that already know the difference between flat earth and reality, is he's just making some educational videos just to point and laugh at the idiots online. But this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to his genius. In fact, this has nothing to do with it. We're about to dive in. This is the bit where we actually get to talk about what this video is about. Why is he a genius? And I'm hoping that I'm going to blow some of your minds with some of the facts that I bring forward to you today. So, whereas when people make YouTube channels, a lot of them make them just to make comments, but creators, when they make their channels, they think that they now have this artistic freedom to make whatever they like, and that's how they start. As soon as a certain video of any YouTuber, any new YouTuber, if they get a lot of views on that one video, then they're going to tend to follow the trend. If they make a video that gets 1 million views, they're going to have their creative freedom taken away, and in what sounds like a good business move, they're just going to keep making content about that. The common downside to this is that creators, they build a fan base around what videos explode. So for example, it could be Fortnite, or it could be debunking a flat earther, and when they try to change up what they do, which might be what they normally do, but these people have subscribed for either one or the other. So when these content creators try to make different videos, it doesn't go down too well, so they tend to conform to videos that actually do well, which locks the content creator into just creating that content. This may not sound meaningful to you, or it may not sound like I'm actually getting to anything here, but I'll make it clear. So a good example of this is the Fortnite guy. Currently he stands at 526,000 subscribers, and he has blown up very quickly. He made his channel on the 11th of April 2018, and his channel is only based around Fortnite and Fortnite drama. So he is, no matter what he wants to do, he is locked into making Fortnite videos, and if he tries to change it, he'll probably lose subscribers. When the inevitable happens and Fortnite dies, chances are so will his channel, because he hasn't expanded his business portfolio. And if you haven't started to get the gist of this yet, I am going to refer this back to Creaky Blinder, and I do apologise. At one point I'm going to call him Peaky. You're going to have to deal with it. And I just want to say quickly that of course I totally understand that the Fortnite guy, tomorrow he could have some good business advice and reach out or branch out. So I'm not saying his channel's going to die, that's not what this video is about, so we'll move on. I'm going to explain why that context was important. So what Creaky could do is he could ride the wave just like the Fortnite guy and get all of the views, get all of the subscribers from what's currently relevant right now, and he could just ride it out until that wave ends. Or what he could do, and what he has done, is he's carried on punching out these videos, but because he knows that he's not the biggest YouTuber at what he does, you know, CREAKYCAST, Simon Dad, there's loads of them that are quite a lot bigger than he is. What he's done is he's had a look to see, are there any missing pieces to the puzzle when it comes to flat earth? And this is where he's making big moves. For this, I'm going to give you a situation that I want you to run through in your head. If you're sat in the toilet, you're either sat there on your phone, you're scrolling through social media, or you're watching YouTube if you're anything like me. If you are that way inclined, as am I, you might like watching flat earth videos. And there is a chance that when you search for flat earth videos, you may come across Creaky Blinder. But what's more likely if you're on YouTube, because the platform's been there for so long, is that you may come across the likes of Simon Dan or Professor Stick first. Long story short, you'll see the bigger YouTubers recommended before you see Creaky Blinder, and there is a chance that you may get some dregs from Simon Dan or Professor Stick and watch some Creaky, which isn't bad at all. I will be coming back to revisit this recommended stuff later because it adds into his genius. We haven't even touched it yet, but I want to give you just one more situation. Picture this: you're out running, you're in the gym, you're doing something where you can't actually watch a YouTube video. So I'll give you a situation. You're going out for a 5-mile run. What's the chance you're going to be watching a YouTube video? It's not very likely. What's more likely is, let's think about this. How can Creaky put himself in your life more, in your daily life, when you're not, because if you're like me, you want to watch a YouTube video when you're either sat on the toilet or you're sat at home. So how can he put himself into your life when you're not just sat there doing nothing? He's played an absolute blinder by creating a podcast. If someone is at home watching a video of Simon Dan, where the market is absolutely saturated with similar content, when it comes to going for a jog, the only option they've got is to listen to Creaky Blinder, because you can't watch a YouTube video while you're running a marathon or driving a car. The other positive impact that this has had on Creaky is the fact that he has now spread his name further on more platforms, which of course he can monetize. But more importantly, his name is out there more. We still have a lot more to go through, but we'll do just a quick recap. So Creaky is more available to people now, no matter where they are, no matter how busy they are. He isn't roped into the good fortune of YouTube's algorithm of copyright strikes and monetization and demonetization. And finally, he's branched out his own brand. I want to go back to the part where I was talking about him being a smaller channel. As I just said, there's no denying that he's rather small in comparison to the much larger Simon Dan, for example, Professor Stick, who have been doing it for a lot longer, and they are a lot bigger than him, so it's hard to stay relevant in the game. What he could do to stay relevant is he could create beef with one of these bigger creators, which drama on YouTube always does massive numbers. So he could be jealous, he could start a massive beef war with them. Or he could just piggyback off of their success. Rather than begging or trying to scrounge subscribers off of bigger YouTubers, he's playing the long game and he's playing the smart game. Creaky is committed to YouTube. He has an absolute wild determination by the sounds of it. He has uploaded frequently and he's stayed true to himself and his subscribers, as I said. And he kept grinding and grinding until finally he gained enough traction to finally be seen as relevant enough, I guess, to be respected enough to do a collaboration with these bigger YouTubers, which is the right way to do YouTube. It's the game you got to play. And with his remarkable networking skills, not only does he benefit from appearing on channels with Simon Dan CREAKYCAST, but they also benefit from him. Granted, even if the exposure that they do get from Creaky puts them in touch with like-minded subscribers and people that we don't get to see in the background, but creators and people that are like-minded in this game, they have things going on out back. So say for example, Simon Dan may need an events manager that may be Creaky. His dad could be one. Everyone's benefiting from the situation. So whether Creaky needs to fix his PC, as he mentioned in his podcast, you know, they're all helping each other out behind the scenes. None of us will get to see it, although we do get to hear parts of it in the podcast, which is more part of his genius that I want to mention. So at the end of this video, I'm going to give my personal opinion, which you may not care about episode 1 of his podcast, and I want to talk about the structuring of his podcast because I think it's rather important to have some feedback. Creaky put in a lot of hard work to finally get his way into this friendship circle of these debunkers and finger pointers and all that good stuff. But now he's in that friendship group. He's now found himself in a community with like-minded people that he will now grow with. So he will grow with Simon Dan, CREAKYCAST, all the guys. I mentioned them just because they're the ones I watch the most. However, he's in that community, he's going to continue to grow, and he's always going to be part of the conversation, whether it's his podcast, a different person's podcast, or certain parts of certain videos by Simon Dan, or mostly CREAKYCAST, I guess. But he'll stay relevant now, and it's all down to his hard work of grind, be funny enough, look, I'm respected, I'm now part of the community. I know this may seem minor to you guys, wow, Creaky's made a podcast, but by the time that there's no money left to make on YouTube, because he's already started with his side adventure podcast, he's not tied down to YouTube. So by the time that there is no money left to make, he has given himself security, some breathing room, and some financial support elsewhere. So he can finally focus, not just on YouTube, but being a personality online and not have to worry about what happens when YouTube dies. Essentially, he's the ninja from Fortnite, but to a much less extent. I'll give him that. Without wanting to sound like a broken record, I'm going to quickly speed run you through some points that I want to bring up about the Creaky Blinder podcast, about his slight genius. He includes guests which are relevant to his channel's narrative. He involves his community by letting them ask featured questions on the podcast. He's gone straight in and stuck it on Spotify. Spotify is so easy to use, ease of access is genius for his first episode. So massive well done on that, because I like my podcasts I like my phone being locked, so that's a massive one for everyone. It won't just be me, I know it. He's using his brand and his podcast to talk on a personal level, which will bring his followers closer to him on a personal level. He's already made an announcement of names that are classed as clickbait. Clickbait is good, it's good, acceptable clickbait, and that's nice for a change. He is the only source online to get the likes of CREAKYCAST and Simon Dan to talk on a more personal level without all of this crazy editing and funny effects. That is exclusive to only him. And I could list much more, which I don't think I'll go into. I've brought up the main points. I'll save that for another time if requested, or I'll just drop into DMs to Creaky. And that, in a nutshell, is the genius behind the Creaky Blinder podcast. I hope I've brought up some points that maybe you guys didn't think was such a big deal, which maybe now you've seen as a rather big deal. And for this final part, I want to share my personal opinions with episode 1 of the CREAKYCAST and just the flow in general. Get ready for lots of cutting. The podcast was a great idea, and it was the piece of the puzzle that was missing. It gives us a chance to hear you away from structured and maybe scripted videos. We feel closer connected to you as a person. I feel like maybe I could get to know you more. I always love the idea of separating the piss take on YouTube and the personal podcasts. I always have podcasts playing when I'm working, when I'm not on the phone anyway, and there just simply is not enough podcasts to fill out my day. There's not enough that I'm interested in to fill my day at all. There's just not enough, and I guarantee you that is a big thing for everyone. And this bit's about the structure of your podcast. So you've done a great job, you've obviously done your homework, that's clear. Do like the idea of your intro being scripted, and I do like the fact that you have something quirky in there, so like your tidy. That's great. I always like to hear there's a person called OpticX. It's to do with gaming. But I think I need to share this with you because without explaining who he is and what he does, it's hard to explain what I'm even on about. So this will be linked in the description as well. OpticX. At the start of every podcast, he will ask people one question, and it's always the exact same wording. So he'll say to them, "Welcome to the podcast. First question I'll ask you is, who are you today?" And even if they don't know what he means, well, they go, "What do you mean by that?" He'll go, "Who are you today?" Just answer the question, who are you? And the answers that he gets every time is different, even if they've watched the podcast before. He's done a great job with this so far. This point's going to be, don't be too scripted. I know you haven't been, but I just want to say, keep it that way. Don't be too scripted. We're here to watch the person, or hear the person, not the actor. And the last one, if you do go on a tangent, stick with it. There's nothing better than a podcast that goes on a decent tangent. Maybe that's just my opinion, but that's what this is. And I will leave it at that. Guys, if you're still here and you're watching this on my channel, then go check out the description, go check out the links down there, including, and more importantly, Creaky Blinders podcast and his channel. Go check him out, go subscribe, you'll love it. And there's only one reason why you're watching my video, and it's because of him. And everyone else that's in the description, go check them out too. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Mitch. I'll see you all in the next one.